Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Hope you are well. So today in this video we are going to learn about a new short story, a completely new short story that is written by Katherine Mansfield, and the title of the short story is Bliss. Bliss is an example of the modernist genre, a short story that belongs to the modernist genre. Okay. Now, if we discuss about when this was published, that means the publication history, then we have to say that this was for the first time, it was published in the year 1918, and then it was reprinted in the collection of short stories, obviously by Katherine Mansfield, and the title of the collection was Bliss and Other Stories, that was reprinted in the year 1920. Okay, so this is the publication history. Now let us know about the author herself. Katherine Mansfield was an essayist, a journalist, and a prolific writer of the modernist literary movement. As I have already stated that she was one of the pioneers of the modernist movement. Okay, so she was born in the year 1888 and was brought up obviously in New Zealand, Wellington, New Zealand. Okay, but to continue her studies, she had gone to England, and there she had completed her studies, and after that she had gone to Australia for some time, and then again she had moved to England and then to France, where she died. She died quite early, I think at the age of 35. Some of her literary collections, some of her writings were Bliss and Other Stories, The Dove's Nest and Other Stories, The Aloe, Millie, Violet, Some Childish but Very Natural, The Little Governess, Sun and Moon, Psychology, The Voyage, The Fly, A Cup of Tea, etc. The last completed short story written by her was The Canary. Okay, although she had tried her hand in the field of poetry, but she was not so much famous in that section. She was one of the prolific writers of the short stories and essays. Okay, so that is why we mainly remember her from this genre. Her short stories had dealt with several, or you can say varied aspects, varied themes, like the difficulties and ambivalences of family and sexuality, the fragility and vulnerabilities of relationships, the impact of war, especially the First World War, on the society. Then we can say the growing lack of integrity in the family lives, and so on. Actually, she had she had handed several types of themes throughout her short stories that made her stories very much lively and very much charming and accepted by the readers. Okay, so this is a short description about Katherine Mansfield. Now let us discuss about the characters of this short story. First, the protagonist. Bertha Young is the protagonist of this short story. She is 30 years old, and she has a little daughter. Her name is Little Bertha, or Little B. Okay, so she is the first character, we can say, the protagonist. Then her husband's name is Harry. Harry is actually the relationship between Harry and Bertha seems to be quite okay at the beginning of the story, but at the end of the story, or we can say during the climax of this short story, we can see that Harry has some extramarital affair with Pearl Fulton. Okay, so this is about Harry. Next character is Mary. Mary is the maid of Bertha's home. Then comes the nanny, or the nurse of Little B, who takes care of Little Bertha. Then comes the guests who were invited in the party, in the evening party, and they were Mr. and Mrs. Knight, then Eddie Warren, the poet, and last but not the least is Pearl Fulton. Pearl Fulton is a, we can say, a mysterious type of young lady. She has blonde hair, and she is very much, we can say, enchanting. And with her, Bertha is feeling that there may be some connection, there may be some love relationship between the two. So these are some of the characters of this short story. So now let us move into the next section. This short story, Bliss, deals with several taboo themes like homosexuality, extramarital affair, the code of conduct for the women of the then society. Actually, when this short story was written, the voting rights were not granted to the women. Although we can say that around 1918, the women, or we can say especially the wealthy women of above 30 years of age, have the voting right, but the majority do not have that. Okay, so we can say at that time, or we can say from 1903, there was a movement. You have, I think, heard of the name of the movement that was named suffragette movement, that is for the voting rights for the women in London, in England, in the broader sense we can say. So these suffragette movement had actually occurred at that time. That is why we can say that women were fighting for their voting rights. And at that time, the British society was governed by the model code of conducts and the etiquettes, and that is why especially for the middle class and for the upper class women, there were some certain model code of conducts that they had to follow. Without them, if they don't agree to follow up that, their characteristics or their behaviors were called improper. Some of these were like they cannot work freely, they cannot express their feelings or emotions. Obviously, homosexuality was also a taboo, and they cannot rear up their own child. They have to take the help from a governess. Then, at the same time, we can say that talking about one's own was also prohibited for the women, and they cannot also have any relationship outside of marriage. So these were some of the barricades, some of the hindrances for the women that they had to follow, and that is why these same things can be felt by Katherine Mansfield too, and that is why she had portrayed this very well through the characters of Bertha Young, or we can say Harry or Pearl Fulton. Actually, the homosexuality, the taboo of homosexuality can be found through the character of Bertha. The extramarital affairs can be found in the characters of Harry and Pearl Fulton. And obviously, all throughout this short story, we can find the impact of the World War I. So this is about the historical background of writing this short story. Now let us move about the plot summary of this short story. Bertha Young is the protagonist of this short story. She is a lady of 30 years of age. On the day when the story is actually set, we can say that Bertha is feeling very much excited. She is very much enthusiastic, very much encouraged, and above all, she is very much excited. She is feeling a quote-unquote bliss, because she is thinking that something divine, something graceful is going to happen with her that evening. Because on the evening of that same day, she has prepared for a party, for a evening dinner. So some of the guests are already invited, and she is just preparing for the dinner. Okay, she was feeling so much excited that she wishes to run instead of walking, or we can say that she is wishing to have the dancing steps in the middle of the road. And very much like when we are very much happy, we want to laugh in the middle of the road, even if there are a very much crowd, even if the place is very much crowded, we don't care at that all. The very excitement we can see in the character of Bertha Young that day. Okay, so this is why we can say that she is very much excited. And after reaching her home, she asked her maid Mary that if the fruits had reached. So her maid answered her that obviously the fruits had reached, and she started arranging them by their colors. The colors of the fruits were very much bright, and that is why we can say these things are also adding up to her excitement. Okay, then after doing all this, she had gone upstairs to see if her child is okay. She asked the nanny if little B is okay, and after her smile, after seeing her smile on the face, on little Bertha's face, she asked the nanny to feed the child herself, and the nanny, already very much reluctant to do so, just give the permission that yes, she can feed little Bertha. While feeding her child, she also felt the same excitedness, same bliss amidst her. So we can say that this excitement or this feeling of happiness is growing leaps and bounds in Bertha Young. Okay, all throughout these short stories. Okay, so after that, after feeding the baby, feeding little Bertha, she comes downstairs and started to arrange for the dining hall. While arranging the drawing room, she was thinking about the guests. That means Mr. and Mrs. Norman Knight, Eddie Warren, and obviously of Pearl Fulton, with whom we can say she was having a secret love. Okay, so while thinking about Pearl Fulton, she was actually, we can say, she found herself hugging a cushion. She was embracing a cushion when she was thinking about Pearl Fulton, and these were some of the symbols that was actually used to show her homosexuality. Okay, after this we can see that when she was looking throughout her window, she was seeing the pear tree. This pear tree was under the magical light of the moon, and that is why we can say this is creating an illusion. All throughout this short story, the moonlight is making an illusion. Okay, and all throughout this short story we can say Bertha is under an illusion, and after the illusion completely evaporates, there comes the reality, and at the end of the short story we can say that Bertha is facing the reality, the harsh reality of life. Okay, so we will learn about that later. So now I am saying that while admiring the pear tree, she is thinking that the pear tree is very much like her, and at the same time she completely shudders because she had found two cats there who were passing by the lawn, and after this incident she just came to the real life. That means she came to the drawing room and started arranging that. After some time the guests started to arrive. In the meantime, while doing so, there was a phone call from Harry. He had informed Bertha that he will be late for that day, and she may enjoy the party. After that, the guests started to come. At first, Mr. and Mrs. Knight came there. Mrs. Knight appreciated the dressing sense of Bertha. Then came Eddie Warren. He said that the cab driver, that means the taxi driver, was so much sinister to Eddie Warren, and yeah, that even he was going to be kidnapped on that night while coming to the house of Bertha Young. So while talking to these guests, Bertha was so much busy that she completely forgot about Pearl Fulton. So after some time, Pearl Fulton came to the party, and after that she was very much excited to see that. While talking or while having the dinner, Bertha was feeling that she can actually understood what is going on in the mind of Pearl Fulton, and said that there is an unseen connection between Bertha and Pearl Fulton. This everything is going in the mind of Bertha, not in the mind of Pearl Fulton. Okay, so Bertha is thinking that she had an unseen relationship with Pearl Fulton, and when after the dinner Pearl Fulton said Bertha that if she had a garden, these affirmed her thinking that yes, she can understand Pearl Fulton very much. Okay, so after having the dinner, Bertha took Pearl to the window to see the pear tree, and after showing her the pear tree, she is thinking in her mind that the pear tree that was looking, or that was glowing very much silvery because of the moonlight. So on the other hand, Pearl Fulton was looking very much silvery too, because she had clothes of silver color, and her dress is very much meaningful with her name, the pearl. Okay, but the pearl is very much silvery in color. After having their visit to the pear tree, they came back to the company, to the party, and they enjoyed a coffee there. But after some time, she had some panic that all her guests are going to leave within some time, and she will be completely alone with her husband in her house. So she was, for the first time, she was having the desire, quote unquote, desire for her husband. And she is saying that this is for the first time in her life that she is having the desire for her husband to be there by her side. So after some time, the time comes when the guests are going to depart. At first, Mr. and Mrs. Knight takes leaves from this couple, and when Pearl Fulton is going to leave, she remembers that she had forgot the coat in the hall. So she went there, and Harry, that means Bertha's husband, also follows her up. At the same time, Eddie Warren also asked for the leave, and at the same time, he also asked for a book that Bertha had in her library. So Bertha went to fetch the book for Eddie Warren. So while she was coming from her library, she had seen a thing that works as the climax of this short story, we can say, that she sees her husband, that means Harry, and Pearl Fulton are embracing each other, and reading their lips, reading especially Harry's lips, she can understand that they are going to meet the next day. Okay, and without informing Bertha. And at the same time, she also can find hideous grinning on the lips of her husband. That means they have some sexual affair between he and Pearl Fulton. Okay, so she did not say anything, but came to Eddie Warren and lent him the book. So when everyone leaves the house, including Pearl Fulton, Harry was busy in locking up the gate, and she had gone to the window where from she can see the pearl tree that was also very much mesmerizing in the lights of the moon. And here the short story ends. Now, if we have to say something about this short story, we have to say that bliss. I think you have heard the term that ignorance is bliss. I think you have read the poems of William Blake. Then we can find that there he is saying that if you learn everything, if you have the knowledge of everything, then you will be very much ruthless like the tiger. Everything, every happiness will be completely lost from your life. So very much like that, he is saying that Bertha Young, who is completely ignorant about the relationship between Harry and Pearl Fulton, had the complete bliss, because these bliss helped her to have the happy day, to have the happiness for preparing the party. Okay, if she was aware of the future, if she was aware of the relationship between her husband and Pearl Fulton, she cannot actually prepare for the party, or she cannot have her own feelings for Pearl Fulton. She cannot actually understand what she feels for Pearl Fulton, although she understands that she has some warm feeling for Pearl Fulton. If she had the knowledge about these things, she might not have understand that she had also the feeling for Pearl Fulton. So completely under ignorance, she is actually is very much happy, and that is why the title Bliss is very much appropriate. She is leading a completely blissful life because she is ignorant of all these earthly falsities, or we can say these complexities of relationship. Okay, so here the proverb ignorance is bliss is very much appropriate, and the title is appropriate too. So this is for today. Hope this will be of help. If this helps you, then please give it a like, do share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching this video.